Let's move on because Kamala Harris is heading to Sydney for what is being dubbed a fireside chat with former ABC presenter Lee Sales. Now, it is a women's leadership event, and I love that the organisers have come out saying that the theme will be redefining possibilities. That's a direct quote. And let's face it, it has all the hallmarks of a Harris word salad. So we thought it was a perfect time to play a greatest Harris hits.
The children of the community are the children of the community.
You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do.
To see the moment in time in which we exist and are present.
Now, I've got a few thoughts about this, but she's obviously been under a lot of fire for the Pete Buttigieg comments, saying that she didn't pick him as his running mate because he was gay. And she's tried to spin that in a way, but that's such an unconscionable, gross thing to say. And I think we've actually got the grab. Let's have a listen.
To be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. Now, Gabriella, I guarantee you that she's not asked about that. Absolutely appalling comments. I almost guarantee you that they gloss over it. It's a big love-in. It's about redefining whatever. These kind of buzzwords. What's going on?
The Pete Buttigieg thing, I think, is really disgusting because she suggests in her book that she wanted to pick Pete Buttigieg, but she couldn't because he was a gay man, suggesting that the majority of Americans are homophobic and hiding behind this
Well, she
claim
thought he
that
was a net
she's
negative
not.
in terms of a value proposition
Yes.
because of his sexuality. She personally thought that.
She said that. And what does that tell you about Kamala Harris as a leader? If she really believed that he was the best person for the job and she was too afraid to pick him, it shows that she's a weak leader. And I like what Pete Buttigieg had to say, which was that you should give Americans more credit than that, rather than just smearing them, suggesting that all these voters are homophobic. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that clip that you just played on MSNBC while she's interviewed by Rachel Maddow, she denies that she suggests it. And then within 30 seconds, she's admitting that that is exactly what she suggested in her book when she said she couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg. And she ends up picking Tim Walz. I mean, what a disaster that was. Tim Walz was speaking about Kamala Harris's book earlier in the last 24 hours, and I should say, acknowledged that Kamala Harris had the right to criticise him in the book, but said that he might have let Kamala Harris down because he's too nice a guy. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days, is just as pathetic as that. She blames everyone else around her, takes no responsibility, doesn't take any responsibility for lying to the American people about Biden's health, about opening the border. She writes in her book about the fight she got into with her husband because he didn't get her a good enough birthday present. He didn't bring her a towel. I mean, just such waffle. That's what she writes about.
Maybe I will have to have a read.
If you'd like to.
Do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy to give you, unfortunately. But just keep watching her clips. The thing about Kamala Harris is the more you watch her, this is certainly true in the election campaign, the more Americans watched her, the less they liked her.
The more exposure, the more no depth.
100%.
No integrity, no character.
She had the honeymoon period. When Biden first dropped out and then she jumped in.
Oh, they tried.
Celebrities were getting
They
around
wanted to make her a thing.
The polls were going in her favour, in her direction.
And then she spoke.
In the space of 107 days.
And it had nothing to do with her identity as a woman or like what her minority status was. It was to do with what she was saying. And the left really struggles with that. They're basically trying to create candidates who are these perfect identitarian mixtures to strategically win demographics at the election. And that's what she's alluded to here. Anyway, moving on, because when Jimmy Kimmel returned to his show after lying to the world about the political affiliation of Charlie Kirk's assassin, he was all tears.
I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't...
Well, that didn't last long. Kimmel was all smiles talking about the scandal with his pal, Stephen Colbert.
Did you ever think the president of the United States would be celebrating your unemployment?
I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a bitch.
His royal. Yes, yeah, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I mean, I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of Americans losing their jobs. But somebody who took pleasure in that. That, to me, is the absolute opposite of what a leader of this country is supposed to be.
I mean, the thing that he's kind of missing there, the context, is that hundreds of those Americans were celebrating someone not losing their job, but losing their life. And it's the crocodile tears. You know, he stood there and he did this crying. And to me, I didn't buy it one bit, because he's got a team of 20 writers. He knows what he was saying. It was a lie. It's nothing to do with freedom of speech. It's knowingly lying about something at a really dangerous inflection point in a country's history where tensions are high, rallying people up and trying to make him think that he was some far-right MAGA shooter, knowing what that impact was going to do. And then people, you know, his own company said, well, we might have to sack you, mate, because you're an unhinged, crazy person.
He absolutely is. No, I lost even more respect for Jimmy Kimmel when he said his monologue on the day after he was suspended and he was brought back on air. He refused to apologise. He refused to apologise to Charlie Kirk's family, to all the people that were still mourning the loss of Charlie Kirk. He also completely deflected. He said that he was not his intention to point the finger at any group, when he actually said or suggested that the Charlie Kirk assassin was part of MAGA, that it was exactly what he was doing.
And who cares what his intention is, really? Exactly.
He had the opportunity to at least address it, realise that the huge mistake, which was actually a deliberate lie. He had the opportunity to say sorry, and he didn't take it up. I think it was absolutely disgusting. He starts pretending to cry for the first time about Charlie Kirk's
a few weeks later, he's laughing about it.
He's laughing about it.
What a joker.
There were no tears on the days after Charlie Kirk's murder.
He was crying for his career nearly being over.
Yeah,
that's what those tears were.
Well,
what a loser.
And honestly, but it's interesting. His ratings have already dropped again, 64% since he returned. So audience is switching off Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, catch you later. Now, Gabrielle Powell, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.